Right now, in your pocket, there are thousands of hours of entertainment. Movies, music, games, endless video, and somehow, you're still bored. We might be the most entertained generation in human history. We're almost never alone with our own thoughts anymore. Which raises a strange question. If we still get bored with all this stuff, what did cavemen do? No Netflix, no music on demand, just a long no. For decades, scientists assumed early human life was pure survival. Hunt, eat, sleep, repeat. Made sense, right? But in the 1960s, anthropologist Marshall Salin decided to actually test that assumption. He studied hunter-gatherers in the Kalahari Desert, people living about as close to ancient human as we can still observe. What he found flipped the script completely. These groups worked around 15 to 20 hours per week. Not per day, per week. The rest of their time was resting, talking, playing, doing nothing at all. Sailors called them the original affluent society. Rich not in stuff, but in something rarer, time. So if humans had free time from the beginning, what did they do when they got bored? One of the biggest clues comes from Blombos Cave on the coast of South Africa. Archaeologists found a tiny seashell there, with a hole punched through it, coated in red pigment. This shell is about 75,000 years old. And here's the thing, it's completely useless. Not a tool, not a weapon, nothing you need to survive. Almost certainly jewelry. Picture someone, 75,000 years ago, sitting in a cave, patiently drilling a hole into a shell. That could have taken days. And they weren't doing it because they had to. They did it because they wanted to. Maybe, for the first time in history, a human made something purely because it was beautiful. We usually assume art comes from necessity. Maybe it actually comes from boredom. That same pattern shows up again, 40,000 years later, in a cave in southern Germany. Researchers found an ancient flute carved from a vulture's wing bone. It still has finger holes. And here's the wild part. It can still be played today, before cities, before farming, before anything we'd call civilization. Someone sat down and invented music. Not because they were starving, not because of war. Maybe just because the night felt too quiet. Some scientists think our musical ability might actually be older than language itself. Our brains are wired to notice patterns, footsteps, heartbeats, rain, the seasons. Music might have started as a way to fill silence. But out of everything boredom created, one thing changed everything more. Imagination. To feel bored, your brain has to compare, right now, to something better that doesn't exist yet. You have to think, I wish something more interesting was happening. An animal can only wait. A human can imagine. Picture someone sitting by a fire 100,000 years ago. Nothing happening, just crackling wood. And in that silence, their mind starts to wonder. What if tomorrow's hunt fails? What's past that mountain? Why do people die? What happens after we're gone? Why do we dream? Simple questions now. But maybe the starting point of almost all human civilization. Religion came from questions. Philosophy came from questions. Even science came from questions. Modern psychology backs this up. In 2013, psychologist Sandy Mann ran an experiment on boredom and creativity. She had people do something mind-numbing, copying numbers from a phone book, then tested their creativity. The most bored people came up with the most creative ideas. Because when your brain gets no stimulation, it starts creating its own. It's been doing that for a very long time. Ancient humans didn't just make art when bored. They also started to talk. A lot. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar found most human conversation was never really about survival information. It was about people. Who did what? Who's mad at who? In modern terms, gossip. Before language, primates bonded through grooming, one-on-one, painfully slow. Language let one story bond an entire group at once. Stories about legendary hunters, spirits, monsters, the sky. Slowly, those stories became something bigger, culture. Civilization probably wasn't born when humans started working. It was born when they had time not to. Which might explain why our modern brains get restless the moment we're forced to sit still. Today we treat boredom like a problem to erase instantly. Waiting for food? Phone. Riding somewhere? Earbuds in. But there's a part of your brain called the default mode network, and it switches on exactly when you're doing nothing. It's tied to creativity, self-reflection, and understanding your own emotions, which might explain why your best ideas show up in the shower, on a walk, or staring at the ceiling. Because in that moment, for just a second, you become a caveman again. Notifications, no distractions, just your thoughts and the quiet. Boredom was never something that slowed down human evolution. Boredom is the reason human evolution happened at all.